welcome. I'm Harry Baya. I'm your worship associate today. It's my first time at this, and so if you notice anything I've skipped or left out, wave and let me know. The gathering video you just saw was Joan Baez at Woodstock in 1969, singing Joe Hill. We're gathered together in search of community, love, and knowledge, among other things. And if there's anyone here for the first time or hasn't been here for a while, and you're welcome, it's your opportunity. If you'd like to stand, introduce yourself, tell us who you are. Now's your chance. Anybody like, please, Barry. Anyone else in the room before I get to the Zoom? So. Anyone on Zoom who's visiting us for the first time? All right. Now, Don is going to put up the future services, what's upcoming on the screen, and we can see what's ahead of us. So you can all read that probably better than I can. Gail Young, Don West, and something on Thursday. So hope you all got that. Ending my welcome, I have a phrase I use. I get to use it here. It's every now and then it becomes useful. I invite you to join me in celebrating most joyously our being here at all. It's now time for announcements. Does anyone have an announcement? Please.
Good morning. I received an email from Jemiah Harkins, who was a participant in a service in recent months. He organizes and runs the food program in LA called Crop Swap. And he just sent a really nice note and said he's fundraising. So if anybody was particularly smitten by him, and the good news of his really successful program, he was looking for donations. So I said I would pass that on to you. So do as you will.
Anyone else in the room have an announcement? Anyone on Zoom have an announcement? Somebody watching up there can tell me if anyone's waving or anything. I infer no one is on Zoom with an announcement. Our speaker today is Bill Steiner, and we welcome him back. Bill is a local attorney specializing in employment law, and I will introduce him again later, right before he speaks. But now I have a job for Bill. Bill, could you light our chalice for us? I always like the chalice lighting for a different reason than most of us. The human race, I looked it up, looks like they they started using fire around 400,000 years ago. However, it was not common among the human race until 50 or 100,000 years ago. There's a pretty good chance that there were hundreds of thousands of years when humans could not light or control fire. And now we often have children in congregations with children, they'll have them light the chalice, which is an interesting thing. It's new to the human race, and we just take it for granted. Of course, we write it here as a symbol of being together. It's now time for our centering thought. So I wanted something, I thought today I'd try to get something short, and I found something by Buddha that I thought was worth repeating. This is, Buddha said, just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so, let one cultivate a boundless love toward all beings. And then Buddha also said, believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who says it, unless it agrees with your own reason and common sense. That's a powerful statement for a religious leader to give. So it's now time for the opening hymn. It's called Singing. Are you ready, Carol? Okay. This is called There Is a Balm in Gilead, a song I used to know.
There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain. But then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. If you cannot preach like Peter, if you cannot pray like Paul, you can tell the love of Jesus and say he died for all. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
Read together the short affirmation on your screens. Zoom attendees are invited to unmute and read with us if they would like. Well, I think we'll have a slide with the affirmation. Love
is the spirit of this fellowship,
service
and service is its law.
This is our
This is
great
our
Great covenant
to
to
dwell
together
in
in
peace,
to seek the truth in love,
and to
and
help
to
one another.
We're now going to have another song, which you're welcome to sing. Bill chose this one. It's called Solidarity. Oh, you were going to introduce this, aren't you? Solidarity forever.
So are you ready to sing it? Okay, everyone, you want to stand up again? It's an aerobic class today. Lyrics will be on the screen. I hope. Are you ready? When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath time. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble streak upon? The union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Now, it is we who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade, dug the mines and built the workshops, endless miles of railroad lay. Now we stand outcast and starving, miss the wonders we have made, but the union makes us
It's impossible to hit bad iron shots ever again after just 10 shots. So if you're not making consistently flush contact with your irons, which chances are you're not, then you need to stop what you're doing and watch this. Martin Chuck here, and if you don't already know me, I'm a PGA teaching pro, and I've been lucky enough to work with major winners Darren Clark and Mike Weir. But my true passion is helping amateurs improve and enjoy this great game. And after giving 50,000 lessons in the last 35 years,
not a single wheel can turn. We can break their haughty power, gain our freedom when we learn that the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. In our hands is placed a power greater than their hoarded gold, greater than the might of armies magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring a birth of renewal from the ashes of the old, for the union strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever. That's one. For the union makes us strong.
It's now time for joys and sorrows. Now is the time for our service for bringing our joys and sorrows, concerns to the community, and to lighten or celebrate what is in our hearts. We will pause our recording of the service for this part of the service.
Morning, and I'm very happy to be here again to help you celebrate the 139th Labor Day in this country. I believe that, yes, we have some video slides, I should say, on the PowerPoint, which I thank Don West for putting together. And I do wish you a very happy Labor Day, as indicated on the slide. Of course, we are celebrating labor's contributions to building our great society and to helping to preserve our democratic traditions. Obviously, there are a number of concerns and needs that we still have to address, but we're fortunate to have a strong labor movement leading a number of campaigns and efforts at the forefront to make it possible for us to have a fairer society and a genuine opportunity for all workers and their families to have a decent standard of living. In the United States, we're lucky we have 2 Labor Days. The other one is, of course, May 1st, International Workers' Day, which began back in 1886, and it arose out of some events in Chicago, Illinois. Long before President Grover Cleveland in 1994, I'm sorry, 1894, declared that the first Monday in every September would be celebrated as Labor Day. And in putting together some notes for today, I ran across a couple of quotations that I think reflect some of the themes and values that are facing our nation and particularly are facing organized labor. I'm going to try to weave these 2 very brief quotations into my presentation. But before I do that, I want to thank you all for inviting me to participate in your Labor Day celebration. I always welcome the opportunity to meet with your fellowship, partly because of the exceptional people you have here in your group, and also because of the 9 principles that are the foundation of your fellowship. And I especially remember the first 2 principles because I believe they are at the core of all labor movements. The first is recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And the second, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. The first quotation is by the 4th wealthiest American in 2023, estimated wealth over $106 billion. And he observed, quote, "There's class warfare, all right, but it's my class, the rich class, that's making war, and we're winning," end quote. These are the words of Warren Buffett. And the second quote is being echoed across the country this past week because we have been celebrating the 60th anniversary of the 1963 March for Jobs and Freedom. It was held in Washington, D.C. and celebrated all over the country at that time. And you'll recall the history. Reverend Martin Luther King proclaimed at that march, quote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice," end quote. These moving words have inspired generations since 1963, which was the largest civil rights march and demonstration in the country's history, an estimated 250,000 people in Washington, D.C., which of course was widely documented by thousands of photographs and film. Turning to the New Deal period for a moment, we all remember that in the 1930s, the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, also known as the Wagner Act, was passed with the leadership of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. That was the legislation that enshrined for the first time nationally all Americans' right to join labor unions. And there must have been a lot of excitement at that time with that new development. And Americans also had the opportunity to enjoy a very talented musician in that period up until his death in 1967. I think of him as labor's national troubadour, Woody Guthrie. And we know him best for a couple of his most famous songs, "This Land Is Your Land," and "Which Side Are You On?" I'm preparing for today, I noticed a song that I hadn't heard for a long time, "This Train Is Bound for Glory." And I believe when you hear the lyrics, you will agree that the image of a powerful locomotive is a metaphor, a proper metaphor for our powerful labor movement that is steadily moving the country forward on tracks toward human rights for all and the opportunity for all workers and their families to have a decent standard of living in a peaceful society. I believe that song sheets have been circulated in the fellowship hall, or at least are available. And if you feel like singing along, please do. So we're now going to move to the video, I believe.
This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, no telling nothing but the righteous and the holy. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train don't carry no gamblers, this train. This train don't carry no gamblers, this train. I said this train don't carry no gamblers, liars, thieves, and big shot ramblers. This train bound for glory, this train.
This train don't carry no rustlers, this train. This train don't carry no liars, this train. This train don't carry no lies, this streamline and a midnight fly. This train is bound for glory, this train.
Don't carry no ramblers, this train. This train don't carry no gamblers, this train. This train don't carry no gamblers, no rough chicken and a moonlight to gamblers. This train don't carry no gamblers, this train.
And this train don't carry no smokers, this train. This train don't carry no smokers, this train. This train don't carry no smokers, my tongues are too big jokers. This train is bound for glory, this train.
Yeah, this train don't carry no con man, this train. This train don't carry no con man, this train. This train don't carry no con man, we are dealers here in Bogdan. This train is bound for glory. This train is bound for glory. This train. This train is bound for glory. This train.
This train bound for glory, like a little holy. This train bound for glory, this train.
Well, after hearing that song, I'm ready to join a picket line, and there are plenty to be joined. I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to go to slide number 12. And let me say that the overriding reality facing organized labor is the steep decline in the unionized workforce since the 1950s, when about 1 out of 3 workers was in a union. President Roosevelt said that if he were to go to work in any factory, first thing he would do would be to join a union, as you can see in the PowerPoint. It's been projected. This was a poster created by the Congress of Industrial Organizations in the 1930s. Historians point to many reasons why there has been this decline. There was the 1947 Taft-Hartley Act, and that had many negative effects on organized labor, restricted the ability to have a fair opportunity to organize workers without undue influence by the employer. President Truman vetoed the Taft-Hartley Act and gave a speech to Congress when he was vetoing the bill. And that speech is very detailed, and it is a passionate analysis of the problems with that bill. In fact, he characterized the Taft-Hartley bill as a slave labor bill that was inconsistent with democratic society. There have been attempts to challenge the Taft-Hartley Act, to repeal it and to modify it. One of those attempts is currently the PRO Act, Protecting Our Right to Organize Act, which was passed by the House of Representatives in 2020. It did not get past the Senate because of the filibuster rule. There would have to have been 60 votes in order for it to get submitted to the Senate for a vote of the entire Senate. And there were 2 or 3 Democrats who would not agree to sign that statute. So the PRO, the PRO Act, as we know it, is stuck in the Senate, and it's an ongoing efforts. But we, since the 50s, have had a decline. Many of the problems, or as I say, attempting to be addressed by the PRO Act and other changes in administrative rules and policies. In the 1980s, the unionization rate was down to 23%, and now it's about 10%. We're all aware of problems with automation. Won't go into any detail on that since it's very commonly understood to be a threat to jobs. Also, there has been the outsourcing of jobs and the export of manufacturing to other countries, especially China. Another very important development over the past several years is the growth of an industry of anti-union consultants. Consultants, they say, but these are anti-union organizers who are being paid tens of millions of dollars every year by employers to pressure workers not to vote for a union or to intimidate them to vote against the union. I'm not saying that all employers are violating the law or even a majority, but there have been enough problems so that the table has been tilted in favor of the employers, and unions need to have a level playing field in these elections so that we can get more realistic and fairer results. The Huffington Post, I just noticed, has published a 5-part series on the abuses of these anti-union consultants. It's entitled The Persuaders, and it's actually a small book. It's started reading it. It seems to have a lot of very valuable information in it. Another development has been artificial intelligence, known as AI, robotic technology, which is a serious threat to jobs in the minds of many, as all of the technology has been potentially. The prominent investment banking firm Goldman Sachs has predicted that worldwide there may be in coming years as many as 300 million jobs lost or diminished because of AI. And I think we have another slide, number 6, which is going to be brought up now, which is the warning issued by one anonymous researcher. Do we have slide 6? I don't know if it's up there or not. Are you still there, Don? Okay. We can go on to that at another point. Maybe this is it. Here we go. Our artificial intelligence warning. And this researcher, who I say is anonymous, has given a warning out about what can happen if AI gets completely out of control. Don, do you have that that next slide? I think it's going to be very enlightening. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Now, how did that get in there? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that just goes to show you what can happen if AI gets completely out of control. Okay. Seriously, AI has been shown to have much potential in the way of improving medicine, science, engineering, and many other areas. But there is that danger, and research it does indicate that there are ways to prevent the enormous displacement of jobs that could result, but I believe it's going to take a stronger movement of organized labor in order to avoid the very dangerous results that are possible from AI. On a more positive note, last year in August, the Gallup poll showed that 71% of Americans favor labor unions as a means of improving wages and working conditions. And of people who were in unions, 40% said that the union is extremely important in their lives. That's on a scale of 5, they voted 5. And another 28% voted 4 out of 5. So obviously very important. These results show that 68% of the people polled felt that being members of a union is very important in their lives. Researchers around the world, especially in Europe and Canada, have found that policies and procedures recommended by the PRO Act, those countries are experiencing less disruption of their labor unionization than in the US, and generally have more stable societies. A report from US News and World Report in 2021, also participated in by Wharton School of Business, found that the 3 most stable economies in the world are Switzerland, Germany, and Canada. In Canada, there are 10 provinces. 5 of those 10 provinces have a card check system. And the basic idea is that if the union gets over 50% of the vote, the union automatically becomes certified, and the employer must engage in good faith collective bargaining immediately. In Germany, which is considered after Switzerland to be the 2nd most stable economy in the world, the government has adopted something called co-determination. These laws have existed since the 1970s. They guarantee that employees have a seat at the table on corporate boards of directors. Employees have just under a 50% share of the seats for companies over 2,000 employees. They have about 1/3 of the seats on boards for companies having between 500 and 2,000 employees. And in coal, mining, and steel industries, the boards of directors are required to have complete parity between workers and the shareholders of the company. Why can't we have that? I'd like to turn now to an issue that faces all of us, and that is what we can do as a community to strengthen the labor movement so it can help bring about a fairer society for all of us. I have come up with an acronym, ISP. This is not my specialty, but anyway, I came up with this, this particular acronym because I would stand for informed. We can all agree on that. S, support. P, participate. Okay, support and participate, I think, are self-explanatory. We know we have to support campaigns, boycotting support candidates who are sympathetic to the goals of labor. Informed is a little more complicated. It's challenging because the commercial media being what it is. Also, I personally believe that education curriculums need to be, well, they need to give more emphasis, not less, on civil rights and comparative economics. I like to hear both sides of the story. So I generally will read or listen to arguments, even if initially I disagree with what the other person is saying. But if after an hour or two, there has been no serious discussion of issues of unemployment or underemployment, failure to pay fair wages, interference with democratic rights of union organizers, discrimination based on race, color, sex, or age, women's reproductive freedom, and similar issues. If I haven't heard some serious discussion about those issues, I may conclude that the speaker or writer may have values different from my own, and I move on to the next video or book. I'm thinking of one author, he's written many books and has many YouTube videos, who recently proclaimed that the state of California and the US government have fallen into the hands of, quote, hard left revolutionaries, end quote, and neo-socialists, end quote. And he points to Bernie Sanders as an example. My guess is that if this was true, it is far more likely that the Taft-Hartley Act would be gone. The Parole Act would be the law of the land. We'd have a national $15 an hour minimum wage. We would have an unwatered down Humphrey Hawkins full employment law. Women's reproductive freedom would be restored. Budgets for enforcing civil rights would be doubled, and we'd have a Green New Deal emphasizing renewable forms of energy rather than fossil fuels, so our planet may have a fighting chance to survive. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, again for inviting me to participate in your Labor Day celebration. Have a safe and happy Labor Day.
Thank you, Bill. We're going to sing the closing hymn. It's called Abide with Me. Right?
Please stand as you're comfortable. Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, still with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close, ebbs out life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. Oh, thou who changes not, abide with me. I fear no foe, with thee at hand to bless. there's no bitterness? Where is death's sting? Where grave thy victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me.
It's now time to extinguish the chalice. No, can you? Though this fire ends, the community and hopes it symbolizes will remain alive in each of us. And we're now ready for the closing song. We end our service by joining hands in a circle and singing, "Let There Be Peace on Earth."
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With earth as our mother, we are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my song about. To take each moment, live each moment in peace, eternally. Let there be peace on earth, let it begin with me. Have a nice day. Happy Labor Day.